Welcome back to the Fanatic channel. Majority watching are aware of the XM-18 3.5 by Hinderer knives. Today I snagged a spare point style XM with an OD green G10 show side scale, and the lock side is sporting a blued working finish. For those unfamiliar with the infamous XM, I'll briefly cover the specs, but this upload's main focus will be geared towards every screw on this knife, its function, and all the internal parts of the 6th generation XM. The overall length of the larger 3.5 is 8 1/4 inches, and defined by its name, the 20 cp blade's length is 3.5 inches. But on this choiled variant, the edge has been reduced to 3 1/8 of an inch. The super chunky XM has a blade thickness of 165 thousandths of an inch and is known as a robust hard user that can withstand abuse. Displayed by its overbuilt blade, accompanied by the 1/4 inch solid piece construction press fit external stop pin that doubles as a thumb stud. This pin bears most of the lateral force and pressure during hard use. The handle comes in at 4 3/4 of an inch with a thickness of 54 hundredths of an inch, accented with a bold yet very attractive signature jimping along the blade and handle spine side, then appearing again on the top and bottom side of the handle's rear, and finally covering the entire lock bar release. Recognized by the knife community as one of the 3 builds that make up the industry's holy trinity, I want to begin the extensive virtual tour, unlike any I've previously done. And we will start with the tip up, tip down, tie pocket clip and insert that fills the secondary slot. Each are fixed to the build via 2 Phillips heads. Once unscrewed, the clip and tab are released and can be removed. The XM is held together by a proprietary pivot and 3 Chicago style screws. Comprised of 17 4pH stainless steel, the 1/4 inch diameter barrel requires a special tool for adjustment, while the 3/8 diameter screw will accept a flathead driver. Due to Rick Hinderer's ingenious design, the user can unscrew just the pivot and completely remove the blade, which I'll speak about here later. The body screws accept a 5/64 hex bit, and the screws barrel ends pass through and hold in place 3 massive spacers that aid in preventing crushing of the handle and the blade's edge that rides snugly in between the spacer's flared ends while in the closed position. Once these 4 screws are loose, the entire build will open up. The XM has 2 show side scales, so to speak. The outer scale can be switched and swapped from an endless amount of scale types, while the inner titanium scale isn't interchangeable. Together, their thickness is equivalent to that of its lock side counterpart. Looking at the non-show side, there are 2 more frame screws. The first keeps Hinderer's proprietary lock bar stabilizer in place and is a smaller 50 thousandths of an inch hex. The steel insert on the lock bar is held in by another hex, but again, it's a different size than any other screw on this build, and although there is no need to remove the insert, and while it would also probably void the warranty, I won't be removing either of these from my new XM-18. But I will use my modded 18 with an identical lock side to provide a true example of both the LBS and steel insert disassemblies. And as you can see, the insert has a keyed section reminiscent of a puzzle piece, and includes an over travel stop provided by the extended tab that falls into a mill section along the inner frame adjacent to the lock bar. The oversized spacer's tolerance and fit leave no room for play or back and forth movement, ensuring the build's integrity along the back end of the knife. Located above and to the left of the pivot rests the internal stop that functions in the closed and doubles down reinforcement behind the external stops when opened. This being a Gen 6 XM, it sports the tri-way pivot system indicated by the HK tri-way logo lasered on the flipper tab. This system allows the user to choose between and quickly swap 3 different washer setups: nylon, phosphor bronze washers, or the factory installed cage bearings. And Hinderer pulled this off, referring to the earlier mention of dropping the blade with only the pivot, by creating simple yet extremely thinking outside of the box engineering and milling a single race into the thicker lock side and another in the blade adjacent to the titanium show side, which forces gravity to do all the work of holding the entire pivot system in place as you simply slide the blade out or back in and reinsert the barrel end of the pivot. So, to sum this all up, the XM-18 3.5 has 14 screw heads and barrels, plus another 15 parts and pieces if we throw in the external stop pin for good measure, culminating into a list compiled of some mind-blowing 29 odd pieces. And while many will agree the Hinderer is a bit pricey, and even more so, very hard to actually get, when released and found. I can say Rick didn't skimp out on any parts by any stretch of the imagination. And I hope this was very informative as well as helpful to anyone looking at, waiting for, or just curious about what you get when you finally pull the trigger on that XM-18 3.5 everyone's been talking about. And with that, I'll be signing off from the Fuller Fanatic.